Hey guys, welcome to The Strong Young Man. Eating healthy is hands down the best investment that you can make. Without a doubt, what you frequently put in your mouth will be the largest contributing factor to all the health issues you experience throughout your lifetime. Are you fighting fit or are you feeding illness? All doctors understand the concept that prevention is better than cure, but sadly, food isn't considered a preventive medicine at all in the 21st century. The ability for food to make or break your health is lost on almost everyone, especially people in the health professions. Food is just considered a means to ward off hunger, while prescription medicine is used to manage health and fight disease. This is so backwards. Everything that you put in your mouth will affect your body in some way. The medicine that you ingest to fight disease is metabolized and absorbed by the same organ as the food you eat. The interesting thing about pharmaceuticals is that over 90% of them are based on or inspired by substances found in nutritious foods. Obviously, don't just seesaw your prescription medicine, but you should seriously consider transitioning towards a lifestyle where you need no prescription drugs or supplementation. If your doctor says this is not possible, then find a new doctor. Most of them have absolutely no idea about human health anyway. If you don't want to trust your doctor, and statistically speaking, you probably shouldn't, then stay tuned and allow me to run through what I eat for your total prescription to health, the only prescription that you'll ever need. My dietary protocol is the ultimate strategy to total health and vitality. It's pretty extreme, and you don't have to go as far as me. You'll benefit almost just as much by following what I do 80% of the time, because after this number, you reach a point of diminishing returns. Before I dive into my protocol, I want to run through the origins of disease so you can see the bigger picture to human health. That way, you can evaluate the costs and benefits and how strictly you want to follow my protocol. Disease in humans is only something that has reared its ugly head since the agricultural revolution. Before agriculture, we didn't have infection, illnesses, or plagues. Skeletons from archaeological excavations across the globe show that when humans adopted agriculture, human health deteriorated. Adult height plummeted, humans lost teeth, and human bone density decreased. All diseases that afflict humans since the agricultural revolution are diseases caused by a transition away from a hunter-gatherer lifestyle. None of these diseases existed when we consumed an evolutionarily consistent diet like we did 12,000 years ago. The only issue we faced as hunter-gatherers was in harsh winters, where food became scarce. A few years of this in a row, and nutritional deficiencies became the biggest problem. Advances in technology mean that it's unlikely we will ever be in a position where we lack food to sustain humanity. Despite modern conjecture, there is way more than enough food to nourish everyone on the planet. It is very likely that we will always have access to adequate nutrition. We have access to perfectly good food, yet we process it to a level that causes us more disease than we have ever experienced. The more we process food, the sicker we become. Ironically, we then try and correct our illnesses with our advanced understanding of medicine with total and utter disregard to human health. I still don't understand how most of humanity can be so stupid not to realise how retarded this is. I really think that coming generations will look back on this time with embarrassment and shame that they were ever part of the same species as the people so stupid to think like this. So how do we ensure optimal health and prevent disease onset from occurring? In a nutshell, we need to eat as our ancestors did in the Paleolithic. Yeah, we're no longer hunter-gatherers anymore, but this doesn't mean we can't eat like one. Essentially, we need to eat the food that we evolved to eat during the Paleolithic era in quantities sufficient to avoid malnutrition. We need to take the knowledge from what kept us healthy historically and then add it to the knowledge that we have acquired over the last 12,000 years about what corrupts our health. We need to remove everything from our diet that did not exist 12,000 years ago and only consume stuff in the way that it appears in nature. Finally, we need to eat in line with our circadian clock, daily and seasonally, as our ancestors did. In a nutshell, the backbone of my diet is animal food, with some seasonal fruit thrown in for variety. If you include raw milk and honey in this category, you'll also obtain sufficient carbohydrates to keep your diet well balanced. That's a big fat nope to vegetables. Hunter-gatherers didn't waste their time on vegetables. I've covered off the importance of consuming animal products in episode 82. Essentially, animal foods are the best source of fat, protein, and micronutrients. Through 12 years of experimentation, this has been the diet that I've found to offer the most benefits while reducing disease and inflammation. I don't have any underlying health issues. I don't get injured, I don't break bones or chip teeth. I haven't been sick in more than a decade, and these are all the qualifications that I need to talk about the role of diet in human health. Before I launch into what I consume, I want to mention that I practice time-restricted feeding. To put it into context, we have to review the lifestyle of our ancestors to understand how we can strive to be evolutionarily consistent. Our ancestors did not wake up to a breakfast buffet, and they very rarely consumed a massive feast for lunch. We know from the last remaining hunter-gatherer tribes, such as the Hadzabe in Tanzania, that they spend their mornings smoking out beehives and hunting wild game. They have to earn their food for the day, and then they can relax. For our ancestors, this meant rising at dawn and heading out on a 2 to 3 hour hunt to bring food home for the tribe. Eating around 2 p.m. to dusk was the most common eating time. Personally, time commitments and the modern lifestyle hinders my ability to strive for this model, but I know that I need to get my life into a place where I can actualise this ideal. If you can do this, and it fits in with your routine, then you should strive for this model. Currently, I wake up every day between 7:30 and 8:30 with the sun. If the sun doesn't wake me up, then my alarm is set to 8:30. I skip breakfast and lunch and only eat dinner. I structure my day so that I earn my food. I only allow myself to eat after I've accomplished 80% of my work for the day. If I don't work, I don't eat. I exercise fasted, as our ancestors would have. I train in the late afternoon from about 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. Generally, I break my fast between 7:30 and 8 p.m. every night, right after my workout, as the body is primed for nutrient absorption. To break my fast, I consume about 200 grams of grass-fed biltong from Barbell Foods with plenty of extra salt and about 150 grams of raw honeycomb. This gives me sufficient protein, carbohydrates, creatine, carnitine, carnosine, taurine, and electrolytes to replenish what was used in my workout. The postprandial insulin spike will increase the partitioning of these nutrients into the muscle cells. The postprandial insulin spike is also essential to a healthy endocrine system, ensuring your hormones remain in balance. Long-term ketogenic diets for more than 3 years can result in a downregulation of thyroid hormone, a decrease in your total testosterone, and an absolute tanking of your free testosterone. It will also cause your body to go into a state of physiological insulin resistance. Physiological insulin resistance is the body's response to a no-carb diet and is not the same thing as pathological insulin resistance. It's basically the body's way of reserving the available carbohydrates for the cells that can only run off carbohydrates, such as parts of the eye, brain, and red blood cells. How it achieves this is that it makes the cells that can run off free fatty acids, such as the muscles, resistant to insulin. So anyway, jumping back to food, for dinner I'll have a large cut of grass-fed steak from a ruminant animal such as cattle, sheep or goat, between 300 to 500 grams. Ruminant animals offer the most nutritious and healthy cuts of meat. This is because their stomach has 4 chambers, which processes the grass they eat and converts the micronutrients into more bioavailable forms that humans can easily absorb. Ruminant animals also have the ability to remove and metabolize toxins and other plant defense chemicals to a greater degree when compared to monogastric animals such as pigs and chickens. I mix up the cut of meat with my favourites being Scotch ribeye or porterhouse T-bone. Something to note is that meat on a bone is the most evolutionarily consistent meat to eat. This will provide the body with adequate amounts of cartilaginous tissue and ensure healthy and strong teeth are maintained. The reason that modern humans lose their teeth is partially because of malnutrition, but it's also because food is overprocessed. Modern humans don't subject their teeth to sufficient amounts of chewing animal meat on bones and tough fruits such as apples. This activity strengthens the tooth structure, which doesn't happen when consuming processed forms of these products such as ground beef and fruit juice. Vets prescribe bones to animals to strengthen their teeth, but dentists don't understand that the same concept rings true for humans. I try to have a minimum of 2 bone-in steaks per week to ensure I maintain healthy teeth and gums, and I chew the bone down to the skeleton, consuming the marrow, ligaments and tendons. Other things which strengthen your teeth include the biltong that I mentioned earlier, or other forms of jerky, and natural gum from beeswax or from the resin of the mastic tree. Chewing these tough foods will also increase the muscles of the jaw, giving you that chiseled look that women find so desirable. The second cut of meat that I consume is heart from a ruminant animal such as cattle, sheep or goat. This is hands down the best tasting cut of meat that you can find, and is a must if you're on a tight budget. A 2 kilogram beef heart costs about 16 Aussie dollars and will last me about 3 weeks. Take a look at the size of these things. The last cut of meat that I consume is what I call my daily multivitamin. It's about 30 grams of beef or lamb liver, and if I can get them, 1 lamb sweetbread or pancreas. I deep fry these in suet or ghee. Finally, if I'm still hungry, I finish off the day consuming seasonal fruits such as apples, bananas, watermelon, peaches, grapes, pineapples, mango, berries, plums and pears, which I might mix in with natural yogurt. Buy organic fruit if your finances afford you this liberty, because cancer-causing and endocrine-disrupting pesticides weren't around in the Paleolithic. All of these foods are just suggestions. It's exactly what I eat and have eaten for a very long time. It keeps me shredded year-round while holding on to a decent amount of muscle without using steroids. Eating the same thing every day is fine by me. It saves me money, time in preparation, and most importantly, mental effort in choosing and deciding what to eat. I just don't have the time. Remember, the golden principle is to eat things the way they exist in nature. We really have a golden opportunity to maximise our health over the next 100 years. There are no excuses for humanity to experience a continued increased rate of disease. We should know by now that food causes disease and have the sense to know that food can prevent disease. As the father of modern medicine, Hippocrates puts it, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. No more turning a blind eye. The world needs to stop eating junk until mechanically full while remaining nutritionally starving. The experiments on food that process perfectly good crop and turn it into junk need to stop. We need to get back to all natural food, the way we've evolved to eat. Our advances in technology allow us to maximize our ability to do this. It just requires the consumer to adjust their eating habits. Remember, the market will acquiesce to whatever the consumer buys. The decision starts with you. Thanks for watching today's episode. In episode 115, I'll discuss why you should never take anything personally. Subscribe and click the bell icon to be notified when it drops. Catch you then.